Mega yachts usually love to use hidden zippers. That's a zipper that is hidden both on the front and the inside of an enclosure. We'll take a panel that's 7 inches wide and mark 2.5 inches from the edges. Take a grease pencil and mark a straight line down the entire length of your panel. This panel is 34 inches because our zipper is 30 inches, so add 2 inches extra on the ends. Here are the 2 lines we marked previously. We're going to take one end of this panel and we're going to use the 129 seam stick for canvas because we're using Sunbrella for this hidden zipper. And we're going to apply the seam stick and then make a 1/2 inch hem here. So just fold this over to approximately a 1/2 inch. So this will be a finished edge. We're using Sunbrella fabric here. The construction techniques are exactly the same for stamoids, vinyls, boat tops. However, with the Sunbrella, it's a little bit more difficult because you want to avoid stretching the material. Now we just fold it using that line that we've marked previously as a guide along that edge. You want to be careful here not to pull the panel as you fold it. You want to do this nice and neat so that it lays flat when your zipper is completed. If you pull more on the top than the bottom or vice versa, you'll find that it will not lay nice and flat. We've done that edge. We'll take it over and we'll do the other edge where we marked that pencil line with the grease pencil. And so basically those lines are on the outside here so they're easy to follow. We're just creasing this panel before we go to the sewing machine. This makes it a little bit easier for us to sew it in the next step. Now take that over to your sewing machine, fold those in where you creased it earlier, and we'll put a straight stitch, a 6mm straight stitch, right along that edge. We'll use one of the outer feet, the center of that outer foot, as a guide to make this stitching go on nice and neat. If you have one of those fences, you can use that as a reference point so that you sew it on really neat and nice and straight. In this illustration, we're just using one of the inner feet as a guide. Once one edge is done, then go to the other edge that you pre-folded earlier and put a stitch right beside that. Exactly where this stitch goes on that edge is not crucial. You want it very close to that fold. In this illustration, we're probably putting it about a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Okay, we do a tacking stitch at the beginning part. We started earlier with the hemmed edge, and now we're starting with the edge that is not hemmed. One edge will definitely be the appropriate length, while the other edge will hang obviously over, probably about 4 inches when we're done. Here's a close-up sewing right along that edge. You can see where we're at with the needle. And here's the finished edge where that 1/2 inch hem was put in earlier. We do a tacking stitch there. And here's what it looks like when it's completed. So this is one panel. Now for each zipper you need 2 of these. So this is the first one. And now we take that panel over to a table and we put a crease right in the center of that small fold in the center of these panels. That's where the zipper will lay in. So we're just folding it and pre-creasing it so that everything comes out nice and gorgeous at the end. Okay, we've already done that to the second panel here, so we're not going to show that. And then we'll take our zipper, we'll take off one side. These are a finished zipper, and this is about a 36 incher, so it's a little bit too long for the 30-inch panel that we're doing. We'll move it up about an inch. We don't want it right along that finished edge, and we're going to put double-sided tape on the edge that this is going to go. This double-sided tape helps to keep that zipper in place while you're sewing it. Now, a lot of professionals will not use the double-sided tape. They will just simply feed it through the machine and make sure that those teeth are laying exactly where they want them to. But we find for most novice seamstresses and people doing their own work that double-sided tape definitely aids in the procedure of doing this. Again, if you're using a Sunbrella, you definitely want to stick with the seam stick for canvas, which is a lot stickier than the regular seam stick. We're going to put that zipper about an inch up from the finished edge. This is the hemmed edge. The other edge is not. And we'll put those teeth right on that folded edge that we created earlier. Okay. Now, if you want those teeth a little bit more buried, you can always sink them in deeper into this assembly, and that's not a bad idea. If you want a completely hidden zipper, you definitely want to sink those teeth in even deeper than what I am here. I'll put that same double-sided seam stick on the inside of this panel, and then we'll fold that top lip over the top, and then we'll take it to our sewing machine and sew. Break off the double-sided tape here, peel off the paper backing, and then lay that other flap right on top of these teeth. Now, if you don't like the way that they're laying and the teeth seem to be sticking out a little bit too much, the teeth are probably sticking out a little bit more than what I'd like here, but it's still going to work fairly well. If you don't like it, then just take it all apart again. That's the beauty of the double-sided tape, and then reapply it. See how the teeth are just a little bit sticking out from the edge of the fabric, so they are going to be exposed slightly here. If you want them totally hidden, then bury those teeth in deeper. You have plenty of room to do it with the dimensions that we have for this panel. Alright, there it is, complete. Now we'll just take it over to the sewing machine and we'll sew it up, making sure that zipper stays in place. Now, if your feet are too close to the teeth, it'll actually try to push that the zipper tape out from the pocket that you just created. However, if you've used the double-sided tape, you'll find that it pretty much stays in place, even if the teeth are riding up against the foot on the machine. Some people prefer to put on a roping zipper foot left, and that way the teeth stay completely away from the foot. There it is when that's complete. And you definitely want to make sure that you catch that zipper tape. If you go right up against the teeth, you're definitely going to catch it, as you see here. So that's one half of the panel. Now you need to do the second panel. To do the second panel, we'll take the other side of the zipper and we'll put it on that assembly. We're going to put double-sided tape on this side of the assembly. So we'll do that first. This is the same 129. That's our part number, Sailrite's part number for the canvas seam stick. If you're using a vinyl or any other Stanwood material, you may not need to purchase the seam stick for the canvas. Now make sure that the ends line up, so you want to make sure that when you put those zippers together at the starter that the finished ends line up exactly. And then do the same as you did previously with that first panel. Take double-sided tape again on the inside once they're basted down and apply that. Now we'll take it back over to our sewing machine. This is what one end looks like before it's sewn. And we'll run a row of straight stitches, being sure that we do a tack stitch at the beginning here to lock that stitch in place. Now we won't start it all the way at the end. We'll actually just start to where the zipper is and start sewing. Now had we buried those teeth in a little bit more, they wouldn't be as exposed as they are here, and I definitely recommend that if you want a completely hidden zipper. Now notice we're coming up to the puller here. What you want to do is you want to lift the foot here with your needle buried, and then twist the material around so that it's a little bit at an angle, and then push that puller past the feet. You don't want to run into that puller with the sewing machine running, and you can tell my hands are in the way. It's hard to do this to get an angle for the camera. Push that puller past the feet. Let's push it up a little bit more, and then we can continue sewing. And with that needle buried, it stays right in place. And then just lower the foot and continue sewing, and then do a reverse stitch to lock your stitch in place. And that's all there is to the second panel. Okay, so that's what the second panel looks like. The zipper is hidden on both the front side and the back side. Zip it together. And there's what she looks like up close. See the little bit of the gap that we have? It's hidden very well, but if you want it hidden more, bury those teeth in a little bit more. And see how it lays nice and flat? If you would pull one side of this umbrella more than the other, it wouldn't lay as nice as flat as this one does. Alright, we've got that part done. Now all we need to do is apply double-sided tape and do a 1/2 inch hem here. This is the next step for applying it to your window enclosure. So we're putting double-sided tape down this one of the sides, doesn't really matter which side, and then we're going to fold it to a 1/2 inch hem. This will make a nice and finished edge as we sew this pocket or this sleeve onto the window. And again, we're using the 129 seam stick. That's our part number, and it sticks well to this umbrella. You won't necessarily need that if you're doing a vinyl.
This side is the finish.
And then once you have that done, here's what it looks like. This is the 1/2 inch seam that we just put in, and the other side we're going to leave raw right now. I've applied double-sided tape to this 40 gauge strata glass, and I peel off the paper backing, and I put that right inside of this pocket or sleeve that we formed. Hold on a minute. Remember the first video when we talked about the slider being either started at the top or at the bottom? You must put this panel on with the starter either the top or bottom to your preference. Let's rotate this around so you can get a better view. We're going to put the starter at the bottom. We're going to put the glass right along that edge that we created for the zipper. See that fold in the inner part? This will make it exactly a 1-inch excess that is for zippers. So from that edge to the center of that zipper, or where the zippers lay, it's 1 inch. Consider that for each zipper panel, and each panel will take up, each zipper will take up 2 inches. So that's, you don't need to calculate that when you're doing your pattern. There, we've double-sided taped it to that assembly there. Now we're going to take this raw top edge and we're going to fold that in approximately a 1/2 inch. What we're trying to do here is not necessarily go a 1/2 inch, we're just trying to match it up to the other hem on the other side of the glass. And you can just pre-crease it here. That's all we're doing, is just pre-creasing it. And then we'll take double-sided tape and base that side down as well. Be careful here that you don't cause any bubbles in the assembly as you're basting this down. You can cause bubbles by trying to match up the edges by pulling or shrinking the material rather than folding the hem appropriately to match. So we've already pre-folded it. Now we're going to take our material with the double-sided tape, peel off the paper backing, and baste it to that window. Hopefully everything will come out nice and neat, and there'll be no bubbles in this sleeve. Alright, now all that's necessary is to take it over to the sewing machine. We want to sew right along those edges that we just basted down, approximately a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch. And we'll do a 6mm long straight stitch, remembering to reverse and lock your stitch in place here. Now we have not put in the 2-inch facing that normally should be put in here. We're just doing this for illustration on how to do a hidden zippers. Technically you don't want to sew this down before you put your 2-inch facing. Now here's the finished edge, and again there's no 2-inch facing, there should be, and we'll lock that stitch right in place. And that's pretty much all there is to a hidden zipper along an edge of an enclosure. That's the one side. We're not going to sew on the other side, but that's it. Thanks again for watching. I'm Eric Grant for Say Alright. Bye-bye.